Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
We'll explain how NCBA's efforts in Washington, D.C. help protect the business climate for cattlemen and women across the country. Plus, see how Zoetis is spotlighting the important relationship between beef producers and their animals.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kate Maher. Often, we members of the beef industry get so busy taking care of things at home that we lose track of important issues in Washington that could impact our lives and livelihood. That's why the National Cattlemen's Beef Association is so valuable. The staff in D.C. work every day to protect the economic, political, and social interest of U.S. cattle producers so we can focus on our own operations. We had a chance to ask some attendees at the recent CattleCon about the value of NCBA's presence in Washington.
It's extremely important. Issues that pop up every day that people are too busy out on the ranch and farm to worry about. We've got the lobbyists at NCBA that can really work hard in Washington to help solve problems and build bridges with other commodity groups to make things happen.
We have to have an advocate because we know we got a lot of people that are wanting to remove us from what we do. So it's just great to have somebody that's here in Washington and knows our issues and is really a grassroots organization.
Having a voice when there's so many people speaking against our industry and fighting against us, having people that can be there on our behalf is extremely important.
We get wrapped up in our day-to-day lives and our day-to-day operations, and the value that they have in front of Congress on my behalf is imperative that we have it, and it's totally priceless.
I think the value of NCBA's work in Washington, D.C. is hard to understate, that it's the most important voice for cattlemen in the industry.
There's no doubt what happens in Washington can have a big impact on farms and ranches across the country. CEO Colin Woodall explains how NCBA continues to be the trusted leader and definitive voice of the U.S. beef industry in our nation's capital.
We are the voice of the cattle industry in Washington, D.C. Going into CattleCon, there were a lot of other groups that were making comments about what NCBA did or did not need to do. What's interesting about that is you realize that they can't do it on their own. They have to have NCBA. That's how much power we wield in Washington, D.C., how much influence we wield in Washington, D.C., and even other ag groups know that if you're going to be successful, NCBA needs to be on your side. So that's why you need to be a part of the winning team in Washington, D.C., and that's the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. On top of that, as we've talked about, your voice is important. Whether you're a producer in Michigan, whether you're a producer in Texas, whether you're in Hawaii, or whether you're in Maine, if you're a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, your voice can be heard. And we want to make sure that producers understand that, and to also realize that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So make sure you show up, be a part of this association, make sure your voice is heard, and let's continue to build the strength of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association as being that definitive voice and true leader of this industry.
Although NCBA is the nation's largest cattle industry organization, policymaking actually begins at state and regional cattle associations across the U.S. Russell Nimitz spoke with Dan Bell, past president of the Arizona Cattle Growers Association, about this grassroots process.
Well, for any grassroots organization, direction always starts at the membership level. And here at CattleCon 24 in Orlando, Florida this year, certainly for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, a lot of that direction and even some of those early discussions when it comes to policy for the coming year and beyond starts with its members at the regional level. Now, joining us now from Region 6 and is Arizona Cattleman Dan Bell. And let's just talk about the importance of grassroots policy and how it really does start with you folks at the local level.
you know, for any organization, anyone that's involved in that organization, there's issues that affect them, and they're not the same all across the board. And so it's great to have these regional meetings so we can all kind of find out what's going on in everybody's different states and localities. And that way we can find commonalities and see if we can come up with a strategy to address some of those issues.
You bet. Now for Region 6 and even for you folks in Arizona, I mean, what are some of the big topics that you guys have been covering, you know, leading up to CattleCon 24?
So right now for us, you know, one of the biggest things is around the whole state is the drought that we're facing. And so there's a lot of people that are kind of hurting with that. And so, you know, just trying to figure out how we can help those folks out in any way we can. You know, for me, being from Southern Arizona, border issues is a big deal right now. And it's something that we've got to manage with down there and find ways to work around it. But it's been a pretty big one to deal with.
You know, and my last question for you, Dan, how incredibly important is it to have an organization like NCBA working on your behalf every single day, you know, whether it's in the office in Denver, Colorado, or maybe more importantly, in our nation's capital?
Well, I think what people have to realize is there's somebody that you can pick up the phone and call when you've got an issue that can probably help you or give you direction, or they may be working on it and can give you some information that's pertinent to what you're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we've been visiting with Arizona Cattleman Dan Bell. Again, just talking about the importance of grassroots membership. And when it comes to the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, if you're not a member, consider becoming a member. Pay your membership dues and get involved with an organization that truly is working on your behalf every single day in places like Washington, D.C. And you can learn more about becoming a member of NCBA by visiting ncba.org.
NCBA's policy priorities for 2024 is the subject of the March issue of the National Cattleman. It's the official publication of NCBA and provides timely news and articles about the issues and events affecting the beef industry. A subscription is included free of charge when you become a member of NCBA. And joining is easy. Just call 866-233-3872 or visit the website ncba.org. Use the promo code C2C when you sign up and you'll receive a special gift you can use on your cattle operation. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll tell you about a great new video series from Zoetis that highlights how cattle-producing families are transitioning their operations from one generation to the next. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Weeds will rob me of my investments. The weeds are not palatable to cows. They will not eat them. Or if they do eat them, some of them may be toxic. So there's a return on investment by allowing there to be more grass available to be grazed by the cattle.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
Join the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. There are big benefits to being a member. You'll get industry news in the National Cattleman, email updates in the NCBA Beef Bulletin, plus discounts just for NCBA members. Join by calling 866-233-3872 or online at ncba.org.
Follow one family's journey to pass down their ranch and their way of life at bornofthebond.com. A video series and true story brought to you by Zoetis.
Here in the Midwest states of America, there's a huge line right by Lincoln, Omaha, all the way up to Canada, down to Louisiana. Anything west of there, it spaces out drastically. There's not very many people within 20 miles of your nearest neighbor. A nearest neighbor that's your age, you're looking pretty hard to find.
I don't know if you can always explain what love is, but you end up loving the ranch. It's always wonderful when it rains in the spring, and it's always wonderful when the snow melts.
The challenges of moving on with your ranch and knowing when that date comes when it may not be viable economically or with your family to continue ranching. All around us, everywhere, these examples of the kids not wanting to come back to the operation and they go down their own path in America.
The Schulers have been here for the last 75 years on this ranch. 2 generations preceded me who purchased this ranch in 1947. I was fortunate to grow up on the ranch and be a part of that my whole life. This ranch was originally homesteaded by a man named Guy Lang. He was from New York State. He came out here with his wife and his brother. They settled here and built a log home in the 1870s.
They chose this natural windbreak of the buttes and they allowed this area to be kind of like this little natural oasis for good grass by the creek.
David is my son. He grew up here on the ranch.
Growing up, I told my mom that, well, I can ranch on the weekdays and then on Sunday I'll just go play quarterback for the Broncos. And that was just a normal thought of mine until I saw how much work they do.
He had other opportunities coming out of school, obviously. A very capable young man.
Those 2 opportunities in college to go either to the big city and take a job somewhere else or moving home, there's no in between. My senior year in college, when the avenues and the doors started getting closer and closer and closer to me of needing to pick one and shut the other, I was probably more stressed than I should have been.
I think he had to wrestle with that decision on his own. It had to be his decision.
And that was a stressful time for my family and me and my parents.
That's a challenge to all of us that are ranchers, to figure out the destiny of our ranching operations.
When a business is generational like that, it's hard because if it fails, you've got a legacy that's failed. You know, you're affecting jobs for multiple generations.
If you're a rancher, you end up with a real connection to the ranch. And if you can't take care of it, you may decide that's a personal failure.
I had to make some serious decisions coming home or taking that opportunity. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into until that day. I just said it aloud, "You're going home." I put my cowboy boots on, put my cowboy hat on, and I was gonna become a rancher.
That would have been my parents' goals all along, is for some generation of the Schulers to take that over so the ranch could continue.
And I lived in a fraternity house with 75 guys for 4 years to living alone in my house immediately after college. So that was a huge, huge change for me and my mental health. My coworkers are my parents. The bickering happens, the challenges happen of working hand in hand with each other. You're always around them.
If a person can come back to the ranch right after college and work with your parents every day, that's the hardest transition.
At the end of the day, we still have lunch. At the end of the day, we still have dinners together. And that won't stop.
I'm very fortunate. With David, you know, when is he ready to take over the ranch? I mean, he's ready now. But I will always be ready to help him. I hope I could do that for a long time. As long as I can.
When we come back, we'll tell you about some great events where you can get hands-on training to improve your cattle care. Stay with us.
BRD stands for bovine respiratory disease. It isn't a specific disease, but it's the complex that we deal with. This particular group has used Draxxin KP. As they were using the KP, one of the biggest things they brought up to me was how much quicker the response was. They see that it works, and when you figure your cost into it, I think it's a significant return on an investment for them.
You work hard to feed your herd and maintain your property. John Deere 6 Series tractors give you choices that fit your operation. 6E tractors are simple and easy to use around your ranch. See all the angles when moving snow or maneuver easily in tight spots with 6M tractors. Get more power and premium comfort with 6R tractors. Mixing feed, weighing bales, and loading goods have never been easier with new loader technologies on 6Rs. Ask your John Deere dealer to learn more.
Are you concerned about the impact government policies could have on your cattle business? One way to make your voice heard in Washington is by joining NCBA. When you join, you'll be part of the nation's oldest and largest national cattle industry organization that has a professional team working in Washington, D.C. on issues that matter to cattle-producing families nationwide. Don't stay on the sidelines. Make your voice heard by joining NCBA today at the website ncba.org.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association knows how important it is that producers stay abreast of the latest production and management techniques to help them through the daily challenges of our industry. Here to discuss these efforts is Michaela Klauser. She's Director of Producer Education for NCBA. Michaela, the popular Stockmanship and Stewardship program is back once again. What should producers expect from these events?
Yeah, Kevin, we're really excited about this 2024 tour of the Stockmanship and Stewardship programs. And, what's so exciting about these events is that the foundation of the content are those BQA principles and protocols. We work with industry experts and those subject matter experts for all sectors of the industry to bring the latest and greatest information to these events. And, what's super unique about them is that they're regionally focused. So, we really encourage producers to network with their fellow producer. And, the biggest highlight is always those live cattle handling demonstrations with Kurt Pate and Ron Gill. They do a fantastic job.
They are outstanding, I promise you. And this year you have a new sponsor, I understand. Tell us a little more about that.
Yes, we're really excited to partner with Neogen this year. They're an excellent company. They focus on cattle health, on genomics as well. So, we're really excited and have really enjoyed working with this group. And, it's going to be a great couple years.
Now, there's also a great way to get reimbursed for this program through the Ranchers Resilience Grant. Is that right?
Yes. So the Rancher Resilience Grant is a program that provides funding for producers to attend these educational events. So to learn more about that, you can head to ncba.org, fill out a really short form, do some of the USRSB modules, and then you'll be good to go. And we look forward to seeing producers there.
Outstanding. One last question. Why is producer education such an important emphasis for NCBA?
Producer education is the cornerstone of NCBA and what we do. We every single day we work to serve the producer, and with that, we just strive to continue to provide the latest and greatest information for the producer, and that's certainly a top priority.
They're great programs. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you, Kevin.
NCBA's Stockmanship and Stewardship events offer a unique and valuable educational experience for producers of all skill levels. If you'd like to attend one of these sessions, just visit stockmanshipandstewardship.org for details on this year's dates and locations. And for more information on how to apply for the Ranchers Resilience Grant that Michaela mentioned, just go to the website ncba.org and click on the Producers tab.
Sustainability continues to be a top priority for NCBA and the entire beef industry. Internationally renowned Oxford professor and scientist Dr. Miles Allen says the beef industry gets a bad rap when it comes to discussions about sustainability.
Most of my career I've devoted to actually understanding the impact of carbon dioxide on global climate. The attention that livestock tends to get is entirely disproportionate compared to the fact that the reality, which is overwhelmingly this is a fossil fuel issue. However, that said, livestock can have a very constructive role to play, and with the right tools to quantify its impact, many of the tools we use to measure the climate impact, the sustainability of farming practices, use a rather old notion called carbon footprinting, which actually, ironically, doesn't actually reflect the impact of your activities on global temperature. So I have a very simple message is, if we want to fix global warming, we need to measure our impact on global warming. And that's something that farmers can do. It's not that complicated. And farmers can also perhaps talk to their elected representatives about why it is that our incentive systems are all structured around this antiquated carbon footprint idea rather than targeted more precisely on global temperature. There's actually a very positive story to tell here. Net zero does not need to mean net zero livestock agriculture. And that's actually something that many people don't seem to get.
Want to hear more from Dr. Allen about beef industry sustainability? Then check out the Cattlemen's Call podcast hosted by Lane Nordland. You can listen to Cattlemen's Call on your phone, tablet, or laptop by subscribing through your favorite podcast app or going to ncba.org and clicking on the news link. When we come back, we've got a look at a company that can help you solve your water management problems. That story is straight ahead. Stay with us.
By installing Ritchie waterers, you save water while keeping it fresh and always available to your animals. You protect the land by keeping natural water clean and soil healthy. And you conserve power because they're energy efficient. We're committed to helping you create a prosperous, sustainable, and regenerative future because we know, like you know, that every saved drop matters. Ritchie, fresh water for life.
CattleCon's headed to San Antonio, February 4th through 6th, 2025, where farmers and ranchers gather to shape our industry's future. Remember, if you ain't at the table, you might just be on the menu. Check out the latest in ranching at the Texas-sized NCBA trade show. Network, learn, and grow your operation. Don't miss this chance to steer the cattle biz in San Antonio, where the Alamo spirit lives on. Visit convention.ncba.org for details. CattleCon 2025, where the beef industry meets.
Well, water is certainly the lifeline of agriculture, and that definitely includes the livestock industry. And one of the experts helping to deliver this valuable lifeline is RanchBot. And joining us from RanchBot is Andrew Coppin. And we had the opportunity to meet with Andrew at last year's CattleCon in New Orleans, and we're back again for this year's. But a lot has changed in the past 12 months or so because you have a brand new product you've been visiting with cattle producers about. Tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely, Russell. Well, great to see you again, and it's great to be here at CattleCon. So yeah, I mean, the business has continued to grow with helping more and more ranchers across America manage their water for livestock. As we all know, it's critical. It's the one job that ranchers have to do every week. To keep an eye on their water, and it's just an incredible amount of cost and time consumed driving to check water that, 95% of the time doesn't need checking, but the 5% of times that it does, it's critical. So what we've learned over the last few years as we're developing our product is, a lot of producers have water just going from the well to the trough. And so where our core RanchBot device is really for monitoring water storage, our new trough product allows them to monitor the trough and the drinkers where the cattle are actually drinking.
Well, and you were telling me that this really does complement already existing RanchBot products that we talked about before.
Yeah, that's correct. This new device can talk back to the RanchBot device. In fact, you can have 10 of these talking to one RanchBot. So typically what we see is ranchers putting a RanchBot in the middle of their ranch or up high on a hill, and then they can monitor all of the water troughs and drinkers across the property through the one device, and obviously it reports to our platform, and they can see the aggregate supply and demand of the water, make sure when the cattle are there that there's always sufficient water. And of course, as we all know, cattle like to get in troughs and knock off floats and do other things. And when they get up to mischief, this is going to send you a text message or an email and say, hey, Russell, there's a problem down here. Best you get down and fix it up.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, all of what we've been talking about is delivered back to that platform, which of course producers can easily access and track on any one of their smart devices.
That's right. Our My RanchBot platform allows them to report on their water levels in their storage, on their troughs throughout this product. We have rainfall recordings, cameras, and a whole range of water pressure, water flow, and a range of other products coming to RanchBot in the USA over the coming years that are all about optimizing your resources and your time on the ranch so that you can do more important jobs around the ranch, like, get a better sale price or get better genetics or maybe just spend more time with the family.
Hey, before we let you go, I mean, you shared some other pretty big news with me. You said to further your commitment to U.S. beef cattle producers here in America, you're actually moving production, you're moving kind of headquarters to the Texas area, as I understand.
That's correct, Russell. RanchBot is now built in Dallas, Texas, and we're part of the Go Texan program. And we're building our team. We're opening an office in Fort Worth now, and you know, there's some great people there, and it's obviously the gateway to West Texas, where there's a lot of customers for us. But you know, we're now in about 15 states around the US, and the business is going great, and it's just a privilege to be able to work with ranchers and help them run a better, more profitable and productive business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for giving us some of your time to share all of this exciting news that's going on at RanchBot, and we certainly thank them for their commitment to the U.S. beef cattle industry. Again, for more details, one of the best tools out there is their website, and you can jump online and visit them at ranch-bot.com.
That wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week, right here on RFD TV.